Hello, my name is Codemaster Jamal, and I'm an indie game developer. Welcome to the 12th devlog for my indie game Virtual Monsters. If this is your first time checking in, make sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button at the end of the video. As I hinted in my last devlog, this week I got into making the HUD for my game. In the last devlog, we talked about monster teams and how they work. However, what we don't have is a way to visually display your team on the screen. That's why in this devlog, I began to focus on the HUD for the game. After this HUD is done, I'll probably focus on the questing system for the game and then move on to the battle and encounter system. I eventually want to start working on the server code. However, the plan is to have most of the systems in the game finished before I start developing the server for the game. With that in mind, it feels like we are very close from completing this game, yet so far away at the same time. Every day I'm working hard to accomplish my goal and achieve my dream of making an open world monster game. Before we get into this week's devlog, I would like to issue a public apology to my viewers. I was going to release a video last week, however, I accidentally deleted the video I was going to upload. I'll admit that I was really depressed for a while and felt like quitting YouTube entirely, especially since I ended up losing subscribers because of this. And let me be the first one to tell you, losing subscribers hurts. The whole time I questioned if creating devlogs was really worth it, considering I spent 3 to 4 hours actually developing my game and 2 to 3 days recording and editing the video. If I spent that amount of time developing my game instead of making videos, I'd probably be done with my game already. However, I have an audience for my game, and that audience is what matters most to me. Regardless what the state of my channel is, I'm not going to quit. Besides, if I did, I know I'll regret it one day. So, for those of you who stuck around, I say thank you for your patience. And more importantly, thank you for helping me reach 300 subscribers. I really appreciate you guys and the support. Anyhow, I think the intro for this video has been long enough. With that being said, let's get right into it. This is the 12th devlog for my indie game, Virtual Monsters. Okay, so to begin everything, I began this HUD by researching UI and UX. I knew a great deal about UI beforehand, but it should be noted that the only experience I have in designing UI is for web pages and not video games. So this is my first time designing a HUD for a game. That being said, I think we should define some terms before we continue. For those of you who don't know, the term HUD stands up for heads-up display and is a way to visually deliver information to players while they are playing a game. The term UI is short for user interface, which is simply a system that allows a user to interact with a program or another piece of software. The term UX is short for user experience, which is simply just the way how a user interacts with a program. This is the overall experience of a user using a product or service and differs from person to person. I spent a decent amount of time researching these things in video games and applied it to my prior knowledge. Once I felt confident enough, I began to plan the look and design of the HUD. In terms of planning, I started off planning my HUD the same way I started off planning the title screen for my game. That is, by starting out with a 1920 by 1080 canvas and an editing software. In my case, I use Paint.net, but normally I use Krita for these type of things. What inspired me in terms of functionality for the HUD was actually a game I used to stream on this channel a long time ago. It's a game called Pokemon Online Revolution. This is one of my earlier videos on this channel back when I was trying to make it as a YouTube gamer rather than a YouTube game developer. This was a time period where I knew how to make games, but I was too afraid to try to make games. Anyhow, I took inspiration from this game in terms of functionality, especially because you could switch the Pokemon on your team with the HUD on the screen. I thought this was an awesome mechanic and wanted to apply this to my own game. In terms of design, what inspired me was a logo of the Digimon franchise. Initially, Digimon is a franchise that inspired me to make my game, as I always fantasized about having my own Digimon as a kid. I wanted my UI to have this sort of futuristic and glitch type of feel to it. Once I had everything planned, I began to design my UI. The easiest thing for me to design was the MiniMap since it was relatively easy to get going. It had been a while since I created a MiniMap, but for me it was just a review on how render textures work in Unity. I got the border and the mask up for it, and then I got the camera to follow the player. Of course, because we're building a game where the player can switch between their tamer and their monster, I needed to make sure that the code could handle doing so. Initially, I had problems with the minimap because I was looking for the wrong game objects on the player prefab. This caused the minimap to stay in the same place, even though the player was obviously moving in a different direction. However, after referencing the toggle leader into the script, I was able to find the exact position of the player, and if the player switched between being a tamer or a monster, the minimap would adjust itself to do so. Next was the player avatar. For the player avatar, I used a similar process as the minimap where I applied a render texture to view the tamer's face onto the screen. I then created a layer mask to make sure that the face cam would only render objects on the same layer. Afterwards, I created a system to display the tamer's information on the HUD. For now, the only thing I am displaying is the tamer's level and the tamer's name. As of right now, I'm not entirely sure what to put on the player's avatar. I thought about displaying experience points, but I'm not sure if I should. If you have any suggestions on what I should display, let me know by leaving a reply in the comment section below. Originally, I wanted to display the tamer's team underneath the avatar, but if you watch my last devlog about monster teams, you would know that tamers are allowed to have up to 10 monsters at a time. While it was initially a good idea to have a switching UI mechanic similar to Pokemon Online Revolution, I decided to scrap this idea as it did not allow me to have enough space for everything in the UI. The only way to have this idea work was to make the monster avatars so small that the player wouldn't be able to read it, and this would take away from the user's experience in the game. I thought this would have been an awesome feature, but I guess some things just aren't meant to happen. Players will still be able to switch their monsters around by accessing an app in the virtual drive, and after debating it for a while, I realized that it would have been a waste of time programming this UI feature into the game since it serves such a little purpose to gameplay. Essentially, it was just a waste of space, so I decided to move on to the next best thing. And the next best thing in terms of development was my game's chat system. It was a little nerve-wracking at first because I had a hard time with Unity's scroll view UI before, but other than that, getting layouts to work was rather simple. The basic idea is that there are 4 channels with a 5th channel that displays all messages. There's 5 tabs, and each of these tabs displays a different channel for each chat. I came across a glitch where if one player pressed the space button while chatting and colliding with an NPC at the same time, it would start the NPC's dialogue. This was a problem but was quickly handled by changing the player's status when the HUD was accessible to the player. Eventually I went back to working on the minimap and figured out how to add markers onto the map. This way the player will be able to tell when there's an NPC, a quest, or a monster around them. The only real issue I have with the HUD so far is that currently the HUD doesn't resize properly. I think this is because of how I have the UI elements parented inside the canvas. So I know I'll have to reorganize the HUD sometime soon, which will break a lot of things in my code, but the sooner I get to this, the better. I also spent some time revamping how player input works in the game. Eventually I will be sending all of the players' input over to the server to regulate and control everything in the game, so it was important I have a way of simplifying inputs beforehand. Originally I had the inputs for the game scattered throughout various scripts, but I was advised that the proper way of handling input in a Unity game is to have a single script where all of the inputs are stored. This way you can pass the input into other scripts with static variables, and you won't have to remember every button in your scripts, nor will you have to remember where you placed all of them. Well, I guess that'll be it for now. If you enjoyed watching the video, please feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more Virtual Monsters content. Keep making games. Till next time, this is Codemaster Jamal, and I'm signing out.
Season 2!